everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing my May wrap up, and this is the second time I filmed this video because the first time I forgot to close my window, and they're building a hospital right next to my apartment. It's super loud, and I know you can probably still hear a bit of noise, but with the window closed it's a lot better. So I will do this again. May was a really good month for my reading, I think, because I had a holiday at the beginning of the month and I managed to read 7 books, which is great for me. Like my average is 5. I rarely go over 5. So actually one of the books that I read I finished in June 1st, but it was like 15% in June and 85% in May, so I count it as a May book. So in May I read 7 books, 5 fantasy, 1 romance, 1 historical fiction. Of the 5 fantasy that I read, 2 of them were high fantasy, 1 was YA fantasy, 1 urban fantasy, and 1 low fantasy, portal fantasy, whatever. And I read 2,600 pages, which is really good. That's how much I read in January. And even though in January I read 5 books, but they were a bit longer. So this is why I try not to care about the number of books that I read. I try to look just at the pages that I read. So in terms of rating, I gave 1 star, yeah, 1 3 stars, 1 3.5 stars, 1 4 stars, 1 4.5 stars, and 2 5 stars. And I'm going to start with the 1 star book. My 1 star was Under the Oak Tree. So I rarely give less than 3 stars because I think that's just evil. If I don't like a book because of the story, that's just my personal opinion, and I honestly don't understand people who give 1 or 2 stars when they don't like the story. That's just you. It's not like, it's just you didn't like the story. So I try not to do that. I still try to focus on the writing style, if there are good things or if it's just a total disaster. In this case, it was really bad because I was not really interested in the story, and just the structure was really bad. There was no structure. There is no structure in this book. So the story can be fine if you like that kind of story. You got it. The main character is she has a terrible father, and she is forced to marry this knight, and then the knight has to leave for war, and then when he comes back he's a hero because he saved the kingdom, and she's worried that he might not want her as a wife anymore. And this is, if you like that kind of story, it's fine. But I do want to say this book should have some trigger warnings at the beginning, because there are things that might bother some people who are very sensitive. Like, I'm fine reading most dark romances. I like dark romance. It's not because I want that stuff to happen to me, but because it's a book, it's a story, and I read it as a story. But there are people who might be upset. So I think all books that have some, especially romance, because usually when you want to read romance, it's because you want to feel happy, you want to feel good about like love and the fact that love exists in the world. So I think they should have some trigger warnings. But the structure was really bad. The transitions between the scenes were not clear, so I had no idea where the characters were, what they were doing. It was just really confusing, and the worst thing is that the chapters ended in the middle of a conversation with no reason at all. And I just thought, that just bothers me because you need a clear structure for your chapters. You can't just end them like randomly, just because chapters have to end at some point. You need a structure in your chapters, and this book just doesn't have them. So 1 star. I don't even feel bad, because what made me give it 1 star instead of just writing a review and leave it with no rating is that this book has like 4.6 average on Goodreads, and it just I don't understand. Like, okay, you like the story, but that doesn't mean you should just ignore the issues with this book. You can't do that. Like, you need to acknowledge that there are some problems. Also, because this was not this was originally written in Korean, and then it was made into a webtoon, got super popular, and the author decided to publish it in English as well. So I don't know if the original one is like this or if it's better. I have no idea, but someone needed to edit and make these better. I don't know who, but someone had to do it. Next up, my 3.5 star, All Good Things by Emma Nguyen. This is the last book in the Sweetword series. I like this. I like this series, and I'm going to have a review for the entire series, but this last book was not what I wanted. It was just really disappointing for me. It didn't feel like the right ending to this series, and everything that happens felt very convenient and just rushed. Like, there's no, like, the ending, the actual ending is fine, but the way we get there, it was just really underwhelming for me. So a bit of a disappointing ending, but still it's a good series, so I will have a review for this one. Alright, next one, my 3.5 star. This is One Good Dragon Deserves Another. This is book 2 in the Heartstriker series, and this was pretty much like book 1. I enjoyed the story. The story was fun and entertaining, but there were quite a few issues. Nothing big like the oak tree, but still there were some missing words or repetitions and things like that. That did bother me a little bit. The reason why I gave it 3.5 is that I enjoyed the story, and I enjoyed the fact that we get to see more of the main character's family. The main character is a dragon, and they all have human forms, and he's stuck in his human form because his mother believes him to be too nice. He's a nice dragon, and that makes him a terrible dragon in her opinion. So he's stuck, and he has to improve himself. And I like the family drama. I always like family drama, but again, a little underwhelming, and some things that happen were just a little convenient again, and sometimes it was a bit confusing because they talk about like future and messing with time, and I'm not a fan of anything that has to do with time, like going into the past, going to the future. I'm not a big fan, so it was a bit confusing at times, but it was still nice to read. I don't know if I will keep reading the series. I'm not super interested, but if I don't know, if I feel like continuing the series, I think I will enjoy it, just not love it. Next one, my 4-star, and that is Shadow Black by Sebastian de Castell. This is book 2 in the Spellslinger series. I loved it, but I gave it 4 stars because I liked book 1 better. So instead of getting better, it was a bit down in, not really in quality. Like, this is a YA, but it's, just because the main character is a teenager, but it's very well written, and there's not a lot of YA tropes that I hate. there is a little romance, but just because teenagers, they all think about romance, but it's not really important. And I love DeCastel's writing style. I love his humor. All his books are really, like, they're pretty dark. This one is dark too, but they're also incredibly fun to read because of the humor. So I like this one, but again, I felt it was not as good as book one. Still, I'm going to keep going with the series. I will definitely read book 3 soon. And this is about mages. Like, he's a mage, but he's not a very good one, and his family is not very nice to him because he's not a good mage, and everyone in the village is not very nice to him. Like, book 1 really reminded me of Unsold by Will Wright. That's the same kind of storyline. But yeah, I really liked book 2. I think it was fun to read. Next time we have my 4.5 star book, and that is The Last Kingdom by Bernard Cornwell. And this is, I have a review for this one, so I'm going to leave the link in the description. So if you want to watch it, you should watch that one. I'm not going to talk a lot about this. Like, I liked it a lot, but it's historical fiction, which I usually don't read, and I do want to try to read more historical fiction. Just, I felt like I really missed some more fantasy elements in this, so I want to read historical fiction with some fantasy, like magic and stuff like that, before I get back to just plain historical fiction books. Next one, we have my 5 stars, and the first one I'm going to talk about is A Time of Blood by John Green. I'm going to have a review for this one. I don't know what happened to the cover. It's really ruined. Even you can see the spine. Yeah, it's really ruined. I don't know what happened, why, but yeah, I might buy a second copy of this one. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I loved it more than book 1. I thought it was a lot better than book 1, and I am really excited to read book 3. Like, book 1 was alright, but this was really good. So a really great sequel. And the first half was a bit slow, but then it got a lot better. Second half is really good. It's what I like from John Green. So my last book, which is also the book of the month, the best book I read, is Night Shadow by Sebastien de Castell. So this is book 2 in the Grey Coat series, and I loved it. I really loved it. It was so good. I remember I read the first book in November, and I remember liking it, but I didn't love it. And then it took me 6 months to read the book, the second book, and I really loved this one. It was really good, a lot more interesting, a lot more fun to read than book 1. And I was reading this one when I decided to buy book 3 and 4 already, without even waiting to see if I was still interested. But yeah, I have book 3 and 4 physical copies because I'm liking it so much that I want to have the physical copies on my bookshelves. So that was all. These are all the books that I read in May, and I'm really happy with how my month went. I'm hoping that June will be just as good. And yeah, let me know in the comments what you read in May, what was your favorite book, and if you have some suggestions on historical fiction with a little more fantasy inside, let me know, because I really want to read stuff that is not just fantasy. So thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.